Thank you. Thank you. Oh, what a time. Good morning. Well, is it a good morning? No one knows. Um, just trying to get myself sorted here. Here, the mic. Um, I have quite a long update, not really, but quite a long piece of discourse. Let's put it like that. So I'm just trying to get myself settled. It's been a bit of a runaround morning. I'm supposed to be in Parliament today for a question hour, so we're trying to just get a handle on all of that. All right. The hot drink today is regular Nescafe espresso mix because it was a long weekend and I didn't really get to re up on anything. It's been chaos, guys. It's kind of out, so nothing is actually as it should be. All right, and the hot take, which will kind of follow back in the long piece of discourse that I mentioned earlier, is community development rests on the back of the community, and the community is more than just government. It's parents, those who aren't parents, businesses, NGOs, nonprofits, schools, churches, police, everybody. Everyone has their part to play in what we as a society start to look like. Just trying to get my notes open on the tablet since it's easier to follow up with that. But of course, technology says, yeah. Okay, so we'll just do it from the laptop then. All right. So word of the day, you know how we do here in the Boo. If you're just joining me on this vocabulary building journey, I've changed up the word of the day where we have the word fun fact about it. It's etymology. So where did it come from? Of course, brought to you by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And today's word of the day is enjoin. ENJOIN. Enjoining is about requiring or prohibiting. To enjoin a person is to direct or order them to do something. So it's not what you may think it is, which is, am I joining a club? No, it doesn't mean to join. It means I'm stopping you from doing exactly that. To enjoin an act or practice is to prohibit it. In legal context, that prohibition is then by way of judicial order. So some example sentences. Our guide enjoined us to take great care as we began our journey. We were enjoined from speaking on the tour. So where did it come from? Enjoin has the Latin verb jungere, meaning to join, at its root, but the kind of joining expressed by enjoin is quite particular. It's about linking someone to an action or activity by either requiring or prohibiting it. And when it's the former at hand, that is when enjoin is used to mean to direct or order someone to do something, the preposition to is typically employed, as in they enjoined us to secrecy. When prohibition is involved, from is common, as in attendees were enjoined from photographing the event. In legal context, enjoining involves prohibition by judicial order through means of an injunction, as in the judge enjoined the sales of the property. So just another one of those words that can be a little interesting, can be a little weird, all at the same time. For the game of the month, I will be honest, I have not really. Well, no, I was playing Need for Speed Underground. Yeah, every once in a while, you know, I like a little racy car game, as they would say. But I think it made me nostalgic for what Need for Speed used to be. And I'll be honest with you, one of my more beloved racing franchises is Forza Horizon or Midnight Club. So Midnight Club was a dub edition. Midnight Club 3 dub edition was not just one of the most entertaining racing games, but you know, solely off of the soundtrack. It had Beanie Man, Sean Paul. It was crazy. I never thought that that games could have, you know, dancehall in them, but hey, it worked. So that's what I've been playing. It's kind of just one of those games that you can turn your brain off because it's pretty much just motor skills, making sure you don't crash and stuff like that. And those games always do a good job of kind of settling the brain when it needs to be settled. So kicking off into our updates on some main topics, ERP1, which is of course a trust fund project that includes the school gyms and sports facilities. I've been getting the updates from YISC. You saw they put the fence around the Dutch Quarter Community Court. There's also some other works happening. And I'm very happy to see that we've kicked off with those long-awaited, very much needed repairs at our sports facilities and our school gyms. So we will keep an eye on the progress that they make. Fortunately, today's weather does not bode for much progress to be made, but hey, here we are. And under FRLP, the groundbreaking for the Sister Marie Laurent School is actually scheduled to take place this week. There were some mobilization challenges with the company, mostly just relegated to the very long processes that we have in place, which, I think seeing it from this side as well, because I've experienced it from a private sector perspective, and it was already frustrating then. But now having to experience it in this particular capacity, there definitely are easier ways to make yourself more attractive for the type of foreign investment that we usually try to target. So, however, that groundbreaking is going to happen this week. So I'm very excited for that. And on the library side, I believe the construction contract should be on its way to finalization. That's an update that we are pending, of course, from the NRPB. And I think I have a couple of meetings with them Thursday to kind of get all of that wrapped up. So by Tuesday next week, you'll have that update. And of course, for Charles Leopold Bell, I think that tender had to recirculate to receive more bids on the construction for Charles Leopold Bell. So the TLDR is that the trust fund projects related to MECIs are progressing. We also announced the web-based training program for teachers, which I'm very excited about because it kind of eliminates this sort of challenge that you run into when my voice is like it's raining, it's time to be in bed. So it kind of allows you to kind of bypass the scheduling conflicts that may come with teacher training and development. So now you learn at your own pace as an educator. There are different models that you will be able to access in this web-based training environment. So very excited about that, as well as the MMIS, and just generally moving forward with all of these different soft components of the trust fund projects from MECIs that have kind of been definitely pushed by those inside the ministry that are working hard on making them a reality, but could have, have benefited then from the attention coming from the top, basically go down. So that was on trust fund. In terms of education, I was supposed to be in Parliament twice last week for a public meeting and a rescheduled committee ECYS meeting that did not happen as we had no quorum for those meetings. For those who may not know, because Parliament is 15 members, you need a quorum of at least 8 members for a public meeting. And then I actually requested to postpone the committee meeting because of my next point, which is, of course, the welcome home celebrations for our athletics and aquatics athletes. Aquatics, of course, came in last Wednesday, and athletics landed on the Thursday. So I want to start, congratulations, first and foremost, to Naja Wyatt Munoz, his family, the coaching and all supporting staff that helped him get there to secure St. Martin's first Carifta gold medal. It's been amazing watching him and his brother and all the teammates as they've trained hard and competed even harder throughout the years. As I mentioned in my remarks, the twins, Double Trouble, are there. I've been watching them since I was in Parliament, basically. So it's really a joy for me to see how far they have come and what Naja has managed to accomplish. And congratulations as well to Isaiah Duzan, aquatics athlete. As I said, what was in your grasp this time around is definitely going to be yours to claim the next time around. And his fellow aquatics teammates. I'm convinced that with continued hard work and training and commitment, he's going to be our next Carifta medalist. I'm calling it from now. I'm so very proud of how far all of our athletes in those two areas have grown. And as I said, it's only up from here. It was a pleasure as well to help coordinate the welcome home. I've come to look forward to the feeling of not just sending our athletes off as minister, but also others, not just, our athletes in traditional sports, but for example, even robotic students, sending them off as minister, but making sure that when they come home, they have a warm welcome, win or lose. I do my best to be at the airport every time. Sometimes it's not possible, but I think most organizations know that I'm usually there. I'd like to thank as well the following folks for helping to execute the vision for the welcome home: PGIA, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of RAMI, as well as KPSM, the Ambulance Department, Fire Department, NSI, with, of course, the utilization of Raul Sports Complex, and the St. Martin Sports Federation. So now that we've covered that, I want to say, moments like that matter, not just because of the medals, but because of what it takes to get there. The training, the discipline, the consistency, that's where the real work is. And we see that. Now, I've was seeing the social media posts over the last few days. And I think it's important, especially if we're going to be honest with each other, that we work with a fuller picture of how support is actually provided by the ministry. Now, on average, the ministry allocates between 300,000 and 400,000 guilders annually in direct sports subsidies alone. That amount is spread across several areas at the same time. For example, there's structural support to institutions like the National Sports Institute and federations, some in excess of 100,000 guilders annually. These structural subsidies are what keep programs running, they support athletes year round, and they ensure continuity. Now, there is national team support for travel accommodation, competition, which can vary between 60 to 90,000 guilders in a given year, depending on how many teams are representing the country. There are investments in equipment and facilities, which in some years can reach around or above 100,000 guilders, so athletes actually have the conditions to train and prepare. And then there's continued support for school and youth programs, which reach hundreds of young people and feed directly into national representation. So when we look at support, I want to make it clear that it's not only about what happens at the point of competition. A significant portion of that investment happens long before an athlete ever steps onto the track or into the pool. And I think that part very often gets overlooked because the most visible moment, of course, is the competition. But the investment that makes that moment possible has often already been made quietly over time. And I think it also negates the work of particularly the National Sports Institute with what they have done to bring our facilities up to par and up to standard. And I'll get into that a bit later on. So I also want to be very transparent about something. In many cases, the amounts that are requested are significantly higher than what can be approved. So what is requested and what is funded are not often the same. Not because the need isn't understood, but because there's multiple commitments that must be balanced at the same time. Within that context, I've been quiet on social media because despite the heavily politicized conversation and yeah, I did not want to allow this big win to be underscored by the machinations of those who are not just former ministers and current MPs who understand the financial situation of this country, which is that we are low on funds, we're not generating enough income as we should, and sometimes there is a struggle to stay in black. This isn't something that started on November 26, 2024, nor did it start in March 2020, nor did it start in 2014 or even 2010. It's been a reality that no one has been willing to admit, and I can say with certainty because even before getting elected to Parliament in 2020, I would encourage this level of honesty from sitting governments only to be met with, well, that's political suicide. So telling the truth is political suicide. Well, buddy, if you're going to keep putting lipstick on a pig for the sake of votes, then we will continue in this vicious cycle of hand-to-mouth living as a country. Having a budget is one thing. A budget is essentially a wish. And if you don't have the cash flow, then actually you don't have the budget. And this is across the board, not just for a country, for a household. If you decide that you wanted to get a Carnival pass and you didn't make sure that you were setting aside the cash to get the Carnival pass, then can you actually get the Carnival pass? So these are the types of I think real world gut checks that we have to be able to have as a country. This minister in particular will continue to communicate this fact because it's clear to me that many are not grasping how difficult the situation is for day-to-day management, due in large part to the same willful ignorance that former and sitting elected and appointed officials continue to perpetuate. It's so serious that we're now, as a ministry, instituting austerity measures to ensure that the budget is balanced despite rising costs. This means we're being much more deliberate in how resources are prioritized and allocated. Having said that, of course, moments like Carifta do make you reflect. They raise valid questions about whether we should take another look at how support is prioritized, particularly for major regional competitions that carry national significance. That is something that we're open to, but we also have to be clear about what that means. Because in a constrained environment, if we increase support in one area, something else will have to give. That is the reality of the balance that we manage. And again, this is in a government, this is in a household, this is across the board. And that brings me to something I think is really important, which is, you know, as I mentioned earlier, success on the international stage is very visible. But what makes that success possible is often not. It's the years of training, it's federations doing the work behind the scenes, it's programs that support younger athletes, grassroots development to get interested persons into a variety of different sports. A perfect example I've talked about on a live stream is netball. You know, people were asking me, I kept wondering, well, how come we don't have, women's basketball or girls basketball at a certain point? And when I went to the primary school competition for netball last year or the year before, I realized all the girls are in netball. And that is a testament to the Netball Federation basically putting the effort into building interest in their sport, building development and athlete growth in their sport, and building our national rankings in their sport. And that type of work persons don't really connect. The facilities and equipment that allow them to prepare, So while we absolutely celebrate the outcome, we also have to continue investing in the system that produces it. I saw many people sharing the announcement by Prime Minister Mia Mottley about committing $1 million Barbadian dollars to athletics program development. Persons were expressing their wish that this should be us, etc. And I agree, and that's a perfect example, if you read the articles, of how government support actually works. So that fund became $1 million because the government of Barbados opted to match the structural sponsorship amount of $500,000 already committed by CIBC Bank. So it's an example of what I've always encouraged and what I have told every federation and association they should also push for, which is well-structured public-private partnership for the support of sports programs and athlete development. Secondly, that fund is meant to support primarily athlete development in Barbados. Prime Minister Mottley and the President of the Athletics Association of Barbados, Mr. Noel Lynch, they both highlighted the fact that the fund would be used to fuel nutritional coaching, exercise programs outside of regular practice sessions, health checks, more on-island initiatives related to bringing athletes up to a certain level ahead of Carifta and other competitive events. So right now, while we can't compare ourselves to Barbados in terms of resources, it is something that I definitely aspire to as minister, to get to that level and beyond. And it takes everybody. It takes addressing our outstanding debt. It takes attracting proper funding to the island. It takes building those public-private partnerships for this type of engagement and development. And it's already kind of in line with the direction the ministry has been taking, both before and during my tenure, to streamline that approach and ground any public spending towards on-island efforts. A big example of this, speaking to what I mentioned in regards to having the proper facilities and such, the track and field at Raul Illich Sports Complex was upgraded not too long before I became minister. Most don't know that our track violated many regional and international standards and was not up to par for proper athlete development. It wasn't even up to par for the sports tourism that most claim to be about. However, now it is. That did take some time, but we're there now. So since the work done by NSI has been completed, it's now rated for these standards, and athletes have a proper track and field on which to train. They have a proper long jump area. I went to that opening. I've been to the practices, so you can see already what that investment is yielding. Athletes who have been training on or in subpar or non-existent facilities are not going to succeed, whether here, regionally, or internationally. Because physically and mentally, they've not prepared for what they will face when they go abroad. So ensuring that our on-island facilities are up to standard and well-maintained is the biggest way that government currently shows its support of sport development. I believe MP Labega said in an opinion piece he wrote that either we're ready to compete or we are content with simply participating. Many times the focus is on participating, but as I told our neighbors in Nevis, get used to us competing to win. Bringing our athletes to that level means investing more here at home. So I think that is a balance that we're all kind of operating in. At the same time, I recognize, of course, that high performance sport requires a level of responsiveness that government systems are not always built for. And that's why the ministry has actively been working towards creating additional pathways, for athlete support, including models that allow for stronger collaboration with the private sector, not as a replacement, but as a way to complement government support and make it more accessible and responsive where needed. Again, CIBC commits 500,000, the government of Barbados commits 500,000. Ultimately, the burden is not entirely on government, and the public sector, the private sector, the community gets involved, much as we saw with this recent travel for athletics to Carifta in Grenada. So I think that is the kind of balance that we need to look for, because it cannot rely on government alone. And nowhere does it actually rely on government alone. If we're serious about taking sports to that next level, the support has to spread, and it has to grow beyond just the ministry. And if we want to see more of these moments, then we have to strengthen both what is visible and what happens behind it. So again, balancing enough to make sure that we support today's achievements while also building something that can sustain many more accomplishments to come. So with that, I want to just say again to Naja and all the other athletes, continue to fly the St. Martin flag high, to excel, and to make your country proud of all your achievements, both on and off the field, the court, in and out of the pool, or wherever else your athletic prowess is expressed. And I look forward to, as long as I'm in this capacity, supporting in whatever way we can, even if that means encouraging private sector to open up their wallets and put their money where their mouth is. So with that, I'm gonna move on now to some culture and some arts. Saturday evening, I attended the Hillside Christian Schools Got Talent show. I have to give it a special shout out because it was an amazing event. The work that Sean and them are doing with both campuses is very evident, because the singers were singing and the drummers were drumming. It was truly a pleasure to be in attendance and be part of their artistic journey for that fundraiser. And I definitely look forward to going to more talent shows. It really took me back to when we used to have the interscholastic talent shows and such, and the kind of energy that each school tried to bring to their own segment, and the competitive spirit that we all had to get to that point. And then, of course, as we know, Carnival 2026, 55 years of Carnival is on and popping. I attended the opening Friday evening, and broke my record for shortest speech ever. Next year, I might just go on stage, salute, and then just walk off. We'll see. But what I want to talk about regarding Carnival is Sunday evening, I had my oyster soup competition. Now, everybody knows oyster soup is my favorite soup. I have been informally doing this since I was in Parliament. Shout out to Not So 6 Foot Rebel from the Twitter days. We used to kind of, troll the village together, buy a bunch of different soups, try them out, get them our own rating, decide which one we wanted to repeat, and that would be our boot for oyster soup for the duration of the Carnival season. So last year, I partnered up with local content creator Giovanni Fuentes, and we kind of bought a few soups on opening night. Not every booth had. I think only 4 booths really had oyster soup. So we had bought those that night, sat down by Abu Ghazi to taste test them and record a video of us trying them out. And then we gave our opinion on who was actually the best oyster soup last year. For 2026, we wanted to formalize it a bit. So I reached out to SCDF. Thank you again to SCDF for willing to allow this level of muppetry to persist. They gave us a room where we could taste the soups in peace. And then they sent it out to the booth holders. And to my utter shock, 9 booths, because one of them was a double booth, submitted that they wanted to be part of it and be considered. So I want to thank booth 70, booth 66, booth 63 and 64, Bassett's, booth 51, 42, 6, 17, 25, and 32 for their participation. I think booth 32 is called Bad Decisions. It was not a bad decision for them to join in the competition, and because they actually winning the oyster soup the oyster soup competition. So I want to thank them for participating. So booth 32 came in first place, as I mentioned. I want to mention specifically booth 66. So booth 66 had a very interesting oyster soup in that it had cinnamon and I think nutmeg in it. And I believe that the booth owners are originally from Grenada. But yeah. The winner received a 500 guilders in vouchers to Divico distributors, and I want to thank Divico as well for partnering up for this level of muppetry. No, I'm not ignoring anybody, but I'm trying to get to the end of my updates. I'm talking to the TikTok folks. So yeah, that's definitely something I want to repeat for 2027 Carnival, and then have prizes for second and third place as well. And that is pretty much the end of the update. So I want to touch a bit on the weather, because I know the sentiment is as soon as rainfall, we want to cancel school. But these decisions are taken in collaboration with the Met Office. And ultimately, by the time the rain actually started, most were in school already. And I want to also give some context to the fact that if you say we were to cancel school right now, the chaos and the danger of being on the road is actually more significant than letting school continue. So that is a conversation that I'm having with DCOM and with the Met Office, of course, monitoring the situation on the roads. But I just wanted to kind of express that ultimately it is safer to be inside, not on the road, because in the event of a flash flood, I would really hate for a bus or anything vehicle carrying students to be damaged, swept away, or otherwise incapacitated on the road. And so for that purpose is why we've not decided to close schools. It's actually safer to be in school, safer to be in your office building than it is to be on the road. Take it from someone who went to school in South Chihuahua and watched the entire road become a river while in primary school. And they had been contemplating closing the school at that time. And I can only imagine for the students who had to walk home, having to be caught out in that flash flood, would have would have not been a good time. So that's the update on that. So it will be something that we continue to monitor with the Met Office and with DCOM as well, and of course the Ministry of Rami. And then if a decision has to be taken, it'll be taken. And I know the rain is expected to be on and off for the next few hours, and then as well for the next couple of days. So if that decision has to be taken, it will be. But for now, it won't be. So that is pretty much the updates I had. I now got to get to calm and continue the rest of the day. So stay safe, stay dry.